What's going on, everyone? I'm Tier 1 Collections. Today's video is a Market Monday, just going over the cards I'm looking for this week and things to keep an eye on moving into the future. I hope you guys enjoy. So one of the main cards I'm looking at this week is Team Rocket's Mewtwo from Destined Rivals. It's kind of in a weird spot right now. It has dropped significantly from its high in October. Obviously, a lot of cards have. But it's kind of steadily dropped and kind of popped right back up right at the beginning of January. And now, as we're getting through, it's dropped about $30 in near mint. I think that's interesting just because the PSA 10 seems kind of low as well. We'll take a look at that real quick. All right, here we're on Card Ladder here. If you do have a PSA membership, you can get this for free, by the way. It's just a little bit better than eBay. It updates pretty well. Like, it has eBay listings on here. It just also adds a couple of other auction houses like Fanatics and stuff like that, just so you get a little bit more accurate price. But it says the Card Ladder value is $11.40, which seems pretty solid. I actually thought it was a little under 11, so I think this card is probably like $12.50, what it's worth, actually. It's not the easiest card to grade. I mean, I think it's pretty solid when you have a clean copy, but there is a lot of quality defects with Destined Rivals. They have that bad creasing on the back right corner. So I think that this is definitely solid. I like where Mewtwo's at. I'm definitely going to be looking to pick some up. Next card up is Megazord from Phantasmal. This card is interesting as well. I just happened to browse on this. Last week, it was about just over 500, but now we're seeing 580, and right now the market price is 590 for a near mint copy of this card. That is a really significant increase for a card that came out not even 3 full months ago. So it's about 2 months exactly when this came out. There is quality issues. Centering is pretty bad, and Phantasmal just adds an overall. So that is interesting, but seeing a pretty big increase in just over a week is pretty insane. Let's look at the graded cards. I kind of expected this, and I think this might be why it kind of jumped up a little bit. We haven't really seen a big fall from the Megazord 10 really at all. I mean, every sale's over 1,800. So seeing that is probably why it jumped up a little bit from 500. Just because with how fast you can express stuff, and I mean, this card you could even super express and still make a sizable profit if you have a clean copy. So that would make sense to me, that why the raw has jumped up a little bit. As we start to see this pop increase, we might see the raw price go back down. It's just something to keep an eye on, though. Next card up is Surging Sparks Pikachu. I know that we're getting personally, in my opinion, a better Pikachu in Ascended Heroes, but this guy is at close, if not at its all-time low. We look here, we see 253, and right now, yeah, I mean, within the last 2 weeks, we matched that at least. It's just like a couple bucks over that. So this guy is definitely pretty low. Looking at its PSA 10 price, we have one that sold yesterday at $850, and then around $800, $720. That's pretty high, or pretty low, so excuse me, $750. So this PSA 10 price is like the lowest it's been in a long time, if ever. I don't know exactly, but that seems pretty low for that card. And then again, the raw price is at its all-time low. So I would anticipate this goes up a little bit over the course of the next few weeks. And I would anticipate the PSA 10 price probably goes, jumps up a little bit and sits more around $850 as these weeks go on. But that being said, the other Pikachu releasing Ascended Heroes might just be more desirable for everyone, and that's the Pikachu, terrestrial Pikachu that they want, We took a look at this guy last week. I think that this card is an indicator for what the market is looking like. This guy has jumped up again from last week. We're seeing about like a $10 to $15 increase from early Jan to now. You can see the graph here. This is the last 6 months. So it's not at its low like back in July of at least 2025, but it looks pretty healthy. In terms of PSA 10 pricing, it's not at 2,200, but we're still seeing a very, very healthy 1850, 1875, 1825. Like very, very solid PSA 10 pricing, and I think that's pretty fair for a card like this. It just looks really good. So I think that it's going to, probably stay around there. It might drop a little bit in PSA 10 and probably maybe go up just a tad on raw price. But I think 650 into, 1,800, 1,900 for a 10 is really, really solid. And again, one of my favorite grading plays. All right, Lugia goes hand in hand with Giratina, so let's take a look at this guy too. I mean, this guy has dropped about $100 from its peak in October to now. It's sitting about $350. For a card like this that's popped 20K plus in a 10, Very, very easy to grade. One of the easiest cards that you win the 50-50s on with PSA. Looking at the 10 price, it actually has went up. I sold a couple of these in December for $850. So we're now seeing, I mean, today sold from PSA Vault at $950, $900, $885. Really, really solid pricing on this. It looks like it'll probably sit around $1,000, I think, here as it creeps up just a little bit. Again, this thing is a pop 20K, so it wouldn't surprise me if this thing stays low. But the raw price sitting at $350 is very promising, at least for the grading play aspect. So keep an eye on Lugia from Silver Tempest. Okay, the better Moonbryon. I picked one of these up in my buyer POV in my last video that I posted. But this guy's graph is very, very interesting. So, I mean, this was a $200 card in mid-July last year, $220. And then it jumped up within 2 months to almost a $700 raw card, and now it's back to $350. This is a really, really weird graph to move like this and so vast for a raw card like this. Umbreon, obviously super popular. In my opinion, this is the better art than the actual Moonbryon. But I think this is a pretty healthy raw price for an Evolving Skies V card. Again, very, very easy to grade. But we look at the PSA 10 price. There was a random sale today at $1,500. Now, I don't think this is real, but this guy's sitting at about $900, $930, and then we have one at $700. So this is something that, I mean, really, really weird pricing on the 10s. This would be really hard to put a market price on. So just keep an eye on the 10 price. I'm not really sure what's going on here. This thing is all over the place, absolutely all over the place. I'm going to stay away from this guy for a little bit. Obviously, unfortunately, I have one so that I picked up for $400. So it might not be the best grading play in the world at the moment, but definitely something to keep an eye out for as we progress through January and February. All right, some of my favorite cards to watch. I think that these are a little undervalued, but taking a look at the monochrome cards, we are at our all-time low for Zekrom. And then looking at Victini, again, all-time low. And then Reshiram, again, all-time low. Like, this thing has just steadily dropped. And I think that these cards are really hard to pull. Victini's a little weird because you can pull it in both sets, obviously. And I don't think people really care whether they have the White Flare or the Black Bolt Victini. So it's sitting at about 400. I mean, again, it's kind of held after the market drop. It's only dropped just like slightly. So that's really interesting. But again, all-time low for these. Definitely keep an eye out for these. I cannot see these going much further down, at least in the raw price, because they are incredibly hard to pull. But then look at the 10 price. It's pretty consistent around $850 to $950 for Zekrom. It's the most expensive one. And then Victini's not too far behind. We have some sales at $950 actually. But yeah, anywhere from $850 to $950 looks pretty healthy for Victini. So they're about the same. And then Reshiram is definitely lower at $750, pretty consistently. That one's from Germany, so not too bad. I would expect these guys to go up a little bit here in the future. So last single I want to touch on is Umbreon from Prismatic. This guy is again getting pretty low and approaching its all-time low, if not matching it. It's $850 to $950. Again, very, very solid. I mean, it was at $1,200 in mid-November. And now we're seeing $836 with 0 items sold. So it's probably sitting around more $900 to $950, but still seems pretty low for a card like this that's very, very hard to pull and very sought after for still. So looking at this, and this is kind of a trend for all of Prismatic for the most part, specifically the Evolutions. But let's look at the graded price. And then it's still sitting pretty strong at about 38 to 42 in 10s. Now, this guy definitely does jump around a lot in terms from that, area around 4,000, but it's still pretty consistent in that area. I mean, we have a bunch at 39.50, 38.50, 39.50 again. Very, very consistent there. It's just the raw prices went down significantly. So keep an eye out for this. If you find a clean copy of this, it's absolutely a god tier grading play. I picked one up just recently as well. Definitely worth it. I mean, that's a pretty sizable margin that you can make there for grading this card in a 10. Moving on to some sealed. Japan's not printing any Terrestrial Festival because of Mega Dream's success. And because of that, I think we're starting to see this price creep up a little bit in sealed Terrestrial Festival. Definitely something to keep an eye on if you're a sealed investor, collector, or whatever. Might be something that I pick up just to hold on to for a little bit. It's no telling that Japan might print these again, but I wouldn't be surprised if these are 130 here in the next 30 days. It would not surprise me at all. They were printing the heck out of this for a while, and then all of a sudden Mega Dream's going to take over. They're not very cyclical like in the U.S. the way that we print Pokemon cards. So they kind of just print based off demand. So it wouldn't surprise me if this jumps up 10, 20, 30 bucks, and again in 30 days in the next month. So keep an eye out. Another box to keep an eye out for is Twilight Masquerade. We are approaching the 2-year anniversary of the release of Twilight Masquerade. We're a couple months out, but we're starting to see, and we saw a drop there when the whole Pokemon market started to drop a little bit, but we're starting to see it creep up a little bit, 20 bucks here from the drop to now about 300 bucks a box. Again, I think this is a pretty solid investment we're no telling on what's going to be printed in the next couple of months. They might release some collection boxes, whatever, but booster boxes are pretty safe. I think this is a pretty solid investment before it becomes significantly harder to find. So, all right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. If I missed anything, let me know. If there's something I should keep an eye out for, make sure you join the Discord down below if you want to sell your slabs at 85%. Or if you just want to be in a community, people who grade cards, invest in Pokemon, you know how it goes. People with like interests, like minds do have success together. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one.